I go from this file, and remember in my prior tutorial I explained that the reason why the text is pink is highlighted in pink, sorry, is because I'm missing that particular font in this system. So this file was created with the different version of Illustrator on a different machine, and that font was left behind. So one way to fix that is to click in it and format it. So double click on there. It will turn, your tool will turn into the text tool. Let me actually do it again so you see what I mean. So if you have a piece of text and you're even in the selection tool, if you go over the text and you double click, your tool turns into the text tool. Then you do Command A or Control A on a PC to highlight the text, and then you can go in here and you see this little diamond right after the font family. What that means is it is not present. It is actually not in my system. So I'm going to go in there and choose a different font, and all of a sudden you'll see when I deselect, the pink highlight is gone. So we're going to go from this to this, and I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, so first and foremost, what I need to do is trace my wine glass so that is a path. Right now it's just a guide. In fact, sorry, I'm going to close the color. I'm looking for the layers that I don't see. I'm sorry, I'm going to go back and pull them out. Window layers. Whatever you don't see is always under window. So I'm going to go here, and you can see that I have different files. One with the text, and one with this template, basically, in which there is just this guide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to go with the pen tool and trace it. But before I do that, I'm going to Command R to get the rulers, and I'm going to drag a ruler about at the middle of my wine glass, because it's much smarter to trace only half of it and then mirror it to the other side. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to take the pen tool, and I'm going to basically click the first one, and I don't need to click and drag because the next is a straight, right? Straight line. I'm going to go in here, and here I'm going to actually click. I'm going to hold the shift, right? The shift will allow me to go straight. So I'm going to pull the handle out. Then I'm going to add, actually, I'm going to push down Option, add Option, release the Shift key so that I can make my handle tangent to my next curve. So I'm going to repeat it right now. So what I'm going to do is I have my first point. I'm going to go on this point right here, and if I hold the Shift key, I know I'm going to go in a perfectly straight line, right? So I'm going to hold the Shift key. I'm going to click and drag. Why am I dragging? Because I know that the next is a curve, and in order to make curves, I need to have handles. But my handles needs to be tangent to the curve, and the Shift is not going to allow me to do that. So I'm going to press Option, release the Shift, and now my handle can be bent to whatever shape I want. Then I'm going to go down here, minimum anchor points, and I can always adjust it a little bit if I'm a tiny bit off, right? I'm going to hold Option again to make my handle tangent to the next curve. It's actually pretty straight, as you can see, right? I forgot to put stroke. I just have the fill, but that's okay. It's no big deal. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go in and click here. Oops. Sorry, I needed to click and drag, right? Because the next one is a curve. And sure enough, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to click and drag again. But now I need to make my handle independent because the next one is a straight line. So I'm going to hold Option, move this down, hold the Shift key because I'm going down, and then release. Then I need to click. I'm going to go hold the Shift key, click here, and click here. Perfect. Now I'm going to hit Return. I'm going to swap the fill and the stroke because all I need is the stroke, and now I'm going to mirror my object. So I'm going to go with the black arrow. I have it, the whole object selected. I'm going to go under the Reflect tool, and oops, sorry, I have this one selected. Perfect. I'm going to go under Reflect, and the problem with the Reflect tool is I need to, if I click and drag, oops, I'm sorry, I'm looking where is the center of my the reflection. Oh, and actually I noticed there's a little imperfection right there I didn't catch. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to grab that handle and move it up. is too long, and that made that my line was kind of sticking down. That is not good. And then also needs to be a tiny bit adjusted. You guys see that? Oops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select those two anchors, and I'm going to move them a little bit with my arrow keys. The rest is pretty good, actually. I don't mind the rest of my wine glass. Yeah, perfect. I'm going to say Command 0. I have my object right now is right here, is pretty good. I don't know why the bounding box is rotated. Anyway, let me actually now do the reflection. So when I do the reflection, the center of my reflection right now is here, and it actually has to be right on the middle, right? So I'm going to move it, then I'm going to click and drag, and I hold the Shift key and Option, because the Shift key will mirror it perfectly to the other side, holding the a straight line, the 90 degrees, and the Option will make a copy. Perfect. So right now I have two sides. I have this side and this side. I still need to join them. I'm going to go with my white arrow. I'm going to click and drag to select the two anchor points at the end of each of those paths. And I'm going to do Command J for join. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. Click and drag, Command J for join. So now this should be one, oops, sorry. I realize I'm still in the white arrow. I'm going to go in the black arrow, hitting V. And now this should be one path. And sure enough, it is. Perfect. So the other thing I need to do is this path right here, but that's really easy peasy, right? I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to go here, maybe up here. I'm thinking what's the best place to go. Right here is perfect. And then right here. Awesome. Now I'm going to say return. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull out the stroke palette and give it a tapering of some form. Where is the stroke? I don't see it, so I'm going to go under window stroke. You know, everything I don't find, I will find it under stroke, under window, sorry. And right here under uniform, I'm going to choose actually this, and I'm going to give it a little bit of a bigger thickness. Perfect. Looks great. So now what I need to do is I need to put the text inside of here. Let me do Command semicolon to remove the guides, and I can even do Command R to remove the rulers. So Command R will make them show up, but will also make them disappear. Command Y will allow you to go and see only the paths. So right now the stroke is gone, even though it's very similar in this case. But let's say if actually I had a much thicker stroke. So let me select this and made it a lot thicker and even made it a certain color. Sorry. So now I want to show you what happens when I do Command Y. You can see the color is gone. I can only see the path. So that's a really beautiful shortcut I want you to consider. And lastly, Command semicolon allows you to have the guides show up or disappear. Okay, so now I'm going to double click on here, Command A, Command copy. Now I'm going to go with my type tool, area type tool right here. And I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to do, you'll notice right now I filled it with the placeholder text called Lorem Ipsum. But if I do Command V, it's actually filling it with my text. Being long week, you can see it's the same. So now I can go in here, and I can do Command A, and I can make it a little bit bigger. It's only 9, and I know it needs to fill my glass, right, my wine glass. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to give it a more tracking and leading. So now it's a matter of massaging this text to fit nicely inside my wine glass. Let me actually go see what I did in the one that I finished, so I can tell you what's the best tracking kerning. I obviously spend a little time finagling to find the right everything. So it's Athelas 11 points, 13, and 5, for example. So let's try to do that formatting so we don't spend a lifetime here. So I'm going to go in here, choose the type font Athelas, regular. I think it was 11, I think it was 15, I think it was 5. I'm going to actually go in the paragraph and try to not center it and see what happens, or center it right here, right there. Obviously there is some problem here, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to actually select this line, the last line. I'm going to do Option arrow key, the upper arrow key, that will make that my text moves up. Do you guys see that? Because right now I can see that there is a plus sign right there that indicates somehow that my text, there is a text overflow. So what I need to do is find a way to move that text up or down or do something so that my overflow gets kind of fixed. You know, so there are many things you can do. In fact, sometimes I just option and arrow key it up and down and see what happens. Like right now you see it's a lot better. Now the problem I had is that when I formatted my text, some of the text was actually overset, so it was out of my selection. So this part has the Athelas formatting, but this part has still the old formatting, and that's why I was getting the Avenir. That's why I was getting complicated. So that's what I discovered just by taking the option and arrow key to move that tracking up and down. So that's kind of something to remember, that sometimes all it takes is kind of go with the option and play with the arrow keys. Okay, perfect. So now if I do Command A, now that we have the text all formatted the same way, and I'm going to hold option, down arrow key. It looks okay except that big hole right in here that doesn't work. So I'm going to actually try to do something else. Okay, what if I actually try to get a bigger font or have a little bit tighter font? You know what I mean? You basically start playing with it until it starts looking good. So again, I'm going to try right now. I'm actually using option arrow keys and see what happens. So anyway, I mean, we can spend a whole lot longer playing with it, and maybe sometimes you change a typeface. You see right now it seems like my tracking is not, my leading is not consistent, and that also can be a problem. The biggest problem though is this, is the fact that these words, those and breeders, the breeders is too long. So for example, if somehow, obviously sometimes you have to massage the text at a certain point. If the breeders was a little bit smaller, it would start fitting in that neck. Another thing you can do is sometimes actually play with the shape and give it a different, slightly larger neck, for example. That might do it as well. But the bottom line is, what you want to do is kind of play with it a little bit more. What I did, I think, at the end, was I actually removed a sentence up there. That's what I did. I remember removing something, and all of a sudden that got filled up nicely. There was one sentence that was kind of, seems like, was holding everything up, and so I kind of played with that. You can see, though, that we still have an overset, so I'm not very happy about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Command A, option, and move, use the arrow key to move it up a little bit, but I see that that can be problematic because now I get that hole again. So what can I do? Maybe I can make this one a little bit smaller so I start seeing more of the text. Again, it's kind of, at that point, there is a lot of kind of finagling to do, but it looks like it's pretty good right now. So for example, if I go and I remove the guide, now I can see my wine glass the way it was supposed to. So for now, just not to make this any longer, I think that will be good. All right?